This is The Reconnected Woman, hosted by Tahlia Skye. Hello and welcome to the Reconnected Woman podcast. Guys, I'm so excited to be saying that. This has been a long time coming. I want to kind of dive into how this came about, why this came about, and just take you behind the scenes on this up level and this rebrand. So for those who have been following the podcast for a long time, you know that it has started with Talks with Tals, and it really was just kind of talking about anything and everything, where over the last few years, I have been on a massive journey, and I know you guys have seen that journey unfold, and a big part of it was really reconnecting to myself. And after coaching hundreds and hundreds of women, I have realized that we do have a problem. And that problem is how disconnected so many people are from themselves, from their minds, from their bodies, from their life. And I truly think that when you are someone who is reconnected, and when you go on that journey of reconnection, I mean, your whole life changed, for the better. So you can expect more talking about health, fitness, mindset, all of it. Everything's kind of remaining the same, but I think kind of honing more in on this topic is something that, I'm really excited about. And I don't know where it's going to go, and I don't know how it's going to look, but I just know for me, I have felt like I've had this desire to kind of step it up a notch with the podcast. I love podcasting. I love talking to you guys, but I feel like, I probably was playing it a little bit small, which we're all kind of guilty of. And I'm just ready for that next step. So if you are watching this, hello, I'm so happy to see you. I'm in this beautiful studio, and I thought it would be nice to kind of separate the podcast from home. Unfortunately, we don't really have one local. So I have, driven to this studio, and I don't know, I'm just going to be trying something different. So let's jump into my journey of, reconnection, and why I think that this is such an important piece of the puzzle on your journey. A lot of you guys know that on my journey, I was completely disconnected from my body. I didn't understand my needs. I didn't understand my body. I kept pushing beyond my means. And that then resulted in burnout. It resulted to me being in a body that I didn't feel comfortable or safe in. And so I think back to that time, and life just felt really hard, like I didn't understand my hunger cues. I didn't understand what my body was trying to tell me, and I just constantly ignored. And so as I was saying to you guys on my journey over the last probably like 2 years, I reckon it was probably after my comp in 2022, where I'm like, I can't keep ignoring what my intuition is telling me. And I didn't really have language for the journey that I went on, but now I'm on the other side. I do kind of understand that it was a big reconnection. But I remember in 2022, after my last comp, like I didn't want to stop. Like there was that part of me that didn't want to stop. And I think I just very much feared what that would look like kind of coming out on the other side of that. But there was this very strong intuition that was telling me, like, you can't keep repeating this cycle. You can't keep doing this. This is damaging so many parts of you. And I had to kind of really listen to that nudge. And throughout that decision of going, okay, we're actually going to take a different path, it has opened so many doors for, myself, with learning a lot about myself and learning how I want to feel in this life. And it's been such a beautiful but messy and very hard process. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because I know that there is a lot of you guys out there that are feeling extremely disconnected from yourself and your higher self. And what I will say is, a lot of the time you don't even realize. I didn't know that I was disconnected. I had no idea, because I never created the space to actually think or feel into that. And it wasn't until I got to this point that I realized, holy fuck, like, I can't believe I lived like that for so long, and I felt that way for so long. And it's kind of like a lot of people out there who think that they're healthy and think that they feel good, but that's their baseline, that's their norm. And then they work with me and they feel, 40% better. And they're like, holy shit, like I was operating at 40% when I've got 80% that I can operate at. And so that's what I'm trying to say with the disconnection. I didn't actually understand what I was experiencing until I was out on that other side and out the other end. And so, I feel like a big part of my healing journey was really just starting to build a relationship with myself. And I've done a podcast episode on this in the past, talking about your relationship with yourself and why it's so important. But, you know, a lot of people pour so heavily into relationships with others, and they know their partner so deeply, they know their friends so deeply, but they don't know themselves. And I truly believe that that comes down to the fact that we live in a world where we are so distracted. We are so disconnected. We don't like feeling uncomfortable. We don't like sitting with ourselves. And there's a lot of people out there that actually can't just sit with themselves. They can't have no noise on, or if they're in the car, they have to have music on. If they go for a walk, they have to be listening to a podcast. At night, they have to listen to music to put themselves to sleep. And for a lot of people, it's a very scary thought, being with themselves and being able to simply be. And one of my favorite sayings is, we are human beings, not humans doings. And we're not really creating the space for us to actually be. And a lot of people don't know what that looks like. And they think that when they are being, that's scrolling on their phones, or, you know, that is watching a movie. And like, whilst these are parts of it, like, can you just lay at the back in the sunshine and just sit with yourself and your thoughts? A lot of things come up when you create that space. And through this podcast, I really want you guys to start connecting with yourself and thinking about things and having these conversations. You know, a lot of people often have a lot of their most creative thoughts in the shower. And I truly believe that's because you're actually creating space to connect with yourself and to not be distracted. But I do believe we do have a very big problem these days with a lot of women who are losing themselves and who don't know themselves. You see them constantly changing, trying the next thing, changing the hair color, getting more filler, getting more Botox. And like, whilst these things are fine, right? I always say it depends what place it's coming from. But when I think back to myself, I very much struggled with the way that I looked, and I was always trying to change and always trying to hide and always trying to distract, and I could not accept myself. And I always thought that if I did the next thing and I got my hair styled, and if I just get this little bit more lip filler or whatever it is, then I'll feel good. And it was never enough, never going to be enough if you have that disconnection and if you don't actually understand yourself or your body. I also think there's a lot of numbing and distracting and a lot of avoidance tendencies happening these days where people can't sit with themselves for 1 second. You know, as soon as they are sitting there for a second, they need their phone and they need to distract and they need to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And it's like, again, there's a huge disconnection issue because of the fact that we have our phones and we have Netflix and we have a million different things that we can distract ourselves with. I also think a big issue is the disconnection from our bodies, you know, especially when it comes to things like diet culture. You go on social media and there is a million diets out there, you know, and often we are getting people and calculators and apps to tell us how to eat and tell us what to do. And I was talking to a client about this the other day who has reached a point in her journey where she is still tracking because she just enjoys it and she likes to have it from an awareness lens. And she is in a phase of freedom, really just trying to build more muscle, just trying to improve her relationship with food. And so she's like, I didn't quite hit my, macros the other day, or maybe I ate a little bit more. And I said, good. Your body knows best. You are at a point where your body is very nourished. You are eating a lot of food and you're eating a lot of good quality food. And so tap into your body, and especially through different parts of her cycle. Like, there's going to be some weeks where she's not as hungry and I don't want her to force food down just for the sake of it. And then there's going to be times on her journey where, she is hungrier and she's going to eat. And she was talking to me the other day and saying that she hasn't had a binge or overeaten in a very, very long time because she is connected to her body and she's connected to her needs. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like, life becomes so much easier. Your relationship with food and your body becomes so much easier when you are connected because you know your body best. And this is what I'm trying to say. A lot of women out there are outsourcing their power to so many different things. And what I will say is, of course, there's a time and place where, you are in a season of strict fat loss and the calculator and the app can be helpful. But the place that I'm in right now is a place of ease and peace and just a really amazing time with my relationship with food and my body, which I never thought I would get here. But it is because I understand my body and I understand its requirements and I know what it's telling me. If my lips are dry, I know to drink more water. If I have a headache, I need more water. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat a little bit more. I would try and push my breakfast back as far as possible, even though I was starving. And over the last few months, I've actually really had to catch myself in that. And I've started eating when I'm hungry. If I want to eat at 7 o'clock, I'm going to eat at 7 o'clock. And if I am hungry later, then I'm just going to have something else because that is what my body's trying to tell me. Now, I think there is a big issue with understanding your body and its requirements because you're not fueling your body. And that is disconnection. So when you are disconnected from your body, it's constantly going to be signaling to you to eat and to overeat. And so this is a whole nother conversation. But so when I think about a woman who is reconnected, I think of a woman who respects her body, who knows her body, who understands her psychology, and she understands how she works, because that's a whole nother thing. I've really started to understand my body. I know my human design. I know how I work. I know when I work best. I know, what's a no-go for me. So it's not just about food in your body. It's about every single thing, even in relationships, how do you work? What is important to you? What are your values? And that's really, really helped my marriage, was me actually reconnecting to myself and understanding what I desire. And how I communicate that with my partner has just made everything so much easier because we know what's important to us. But again, a lot of people don't even understand why they're mad, what's going on. They feel a certain emotion and they just distract, numb, avoid, instead of getting curious and digging deeper. So as I was saying, when I think about a woman who's reconnected, she has great relationships with others and herself because she knows herself and what her boundaries are and what her requirements are. I think about someone who is just in a phase for life, not constantly chopping, changing, numbing, masking, distracting. She's just in her power. She's magnetic. She's fueled. She's glowing, that is what I see as a woman who is reconnected. And so I'm very excited to embark on this next chapter with you guys and to let it all unfold. But thank you for being here and let's do this.